It was the second evening in Ziguinchor, Casamance, Senegal. The air was thick with humidity and the scent of tropical flowers drifting from the nearby garden. I sat alone in the clean but modest courtyard of a rather shabby hotel, sipping a gazelle, the local Senegalese beer which I had just ordered. Full data. The moment felt strangely alive, as though something were about to happen. Only one thing was missing interesting company. That was precisely when I heard it. A creak, the sound of a crooked door opening nearby. I turned. A tall, elderly white man stepped out, dressed in flowing Arabic robes. His beard was unkempt, his eyes strikingly green, met mine instantly. In them, I saw a defiant fire, the kind born from long-suppressed pain. His stride was as bold as his stare, firm, unhesitating as he walked directly toward me. Without a word, he sat down beside my table, exhaled deeply, and spoke. "I must get out of here. It's too hot, this whole place is filthy. But I've run out of money. I've got some dollars, yes, but the banks are closed until Monday, and I can't find anywhere to change them. Do you know a place I could do it today?"
Those girls are checking you out.
He spoke perfect English, though with a sharp Slavic accent. His frustration was clear, the tension of a man used to control, suddenly helpless. I suggested he go out, ask around hotels, shops, anyone on the street, and offer a good exchange rate. He nodded, muttered a half-hearted thank you, and disappeared into the narrow street outside. Half an hour later, he returned. His face was flushed with heat and fury. "Nothing. No one will take them. Useless. Damn this place, damn these people." "Beer," I offered quietly. He stared for a second, then smiled grimly. Without a word, he rose, walked to the bar, and returned moments later with 2 gazelles. We drank in silence for a while, the warm African evening settling around us. The clinking of bottles, the hum of insects, and the distant rhythm of drums filled the background. Gradually, the conversation began. He told me he was born in 1948, on the outskirts of Warsaw, in the shadow of communist Poland. His early life, he said, had been ruled by one overwhelming passion: women. Girls, girls, girls. I had dozens, sometimes 4 at a time before I left Poland. Every day I needed them. I was exhausted. So I thought I'll go west and see what's happening there. He somehow managed to get a passport, a miracle in those communist days, and fled to London, where he sought asylum. He never returned home until the fall of communism. After a year in London, he boarded a ship to Australia, the other side of the world. There he worked in mines, on construction sites. Long, hard years that left him weary. One day, a friend made a peculiar suggestion. "Why don't you see a psychiatrist and get yourself some time off?" He laughed when he recalled it and began reenacting the encounter. The doctor barely spoke, just nodded, scribbled something, and then signed him off for 6 months' leave. "That's when I found the secret," he said, eyes glittering. "I never worked again, ever." He lived off the Australian welfare system for nearly 3 decades. "Until I got my pension," he added proudly. A fat one. But he didn't spend those years idle. No. He found other trades. The most profitable one, smuggling gold from Hong Kong to India. He completed several runs successfully, until, finally, fate caught up with him. New Delhi Airport, customs officers. Hollowed-out camera, 1.5 kilos of gold inside. He was arrested, tried, and sentenced to 6 months in prison. He described the Indian prison calmly, as though it had been nothing more than a mild inconvenience. "It wasn't so bad," he said with a shrug. "Plenty of rats, spiders too, 70 men in one cell. But the Indians were peaceful, friendly even. And there were many foreigners, Europeans, Africans, all smugglers like me. Gold, heroin, electronics. Anything that could be moved, they smuggled." His tone was almost nostalgic, as if he were talking about a strange summer camp rather than a cell. Then his eyes darkened. There was one man, though, Charles Sobrage. The killer, the one they called the Serpent. He was in the next cell. The name sent a small chill down my spine. I remembered the stories a murderer who had preyed upon travelers across Asia in the 1970s. And now, this man, this stranger, had been locked beside him. When he was released, his troubles were far from over. The Indian authorities had confiscated his passport. The Australian embassy refused to issue a new one in Delhi. They told him to cross the border into Nepal to get it there. So I did, he said simply, with a German and East German who was in the same mess. We took rickshaws, buses, walked the rest, crossed the border at night through the fields. I could picture it, two men, silhouettes against the moonlight, pushing through the grasslands of the Terai, carrying nothing but desperation. And eventually they reached Kathmandu. The embassy issued their new passports, freedom again. But when he returned to Australia, his freedom came at a cost. His wife's lover had moved into his house. She'd cheated before, he said coldly. It was nothing new, but this time she threw me out. I lost my house, my daughters, everything. The law, it was on her side. His voice shook not from sadness, but rage barely controlled. He cursed the legal system, cursed the country he'd spent half his life in. Once upon a time, he said through clenched teeth, a man could kill his wife's lovers and walk away. Now the law protects them. He fell silent for a long time. The night sounds filled the space between us, insects, distant laughter, a motorbike somewhere beyond the street. Then, quietly, he began again. Maybe it was my fault, he said softly. Maybe I was never meant for marriage. I met her in Manila, a girl from the streets. She couldn't speak a word of English. But she was beautiful, too beautiful. He paused as if the memory stung. He admitted that most of their problems came from his behavior, his endless need to run away. I was always gone. 10 months a year traveling. Brothels in Indonesia, bars in Thailand. I never even wrote home, not once. His confession hung into the warm night air, heavy and raw. For a moment, the only sound was the soft clinking of our bottles. He told me he hadn't been with a woman in 4 years. I hate them now, he said. But the tone of his voice betrayed something else, an emptiness, a hunger still flickering beneath the surface. Perhaps it wasn't hatred, I thought. Perhaps it was simply loneliness disguised as pride. Yet even then, he admitted he was still searching for a companion, a wife, a soul that could sit beside his and not run. I leaned back, watching him in silence. His green eyes, tired, burning with some distant fire, stared at the darkness beyond the garden. Then he spoke again. I still want a wife, he said suddenly. Mate, someone who understands, but not a Polish woman my age, no, never. He looked at me, almost offended by the suggestion I hadn't made. His voice rose, full of ironic laughter. Are you serious? A woman my age? I'm 70. 70-year-old women are ugly. Look at me, I'm old. Yes, I'm ugly too. But at least I don't have to look at myself all day. He paused, and for a fleeting moment, I saw a glimmer of something human beneath his mockery. A loneliness so vast it almost swallowed his words. But you know what? He said after a long silence. I've been thinking, maybe I should just go back to Poland. His tone softened, distant, almost dreaming. I'll buy a caravan, he continued. Park it somewhere near the woods. Live there alone for the rest of my life. A faint smile crossed his lips, the kind of smile that doesn't reach the eyes but tries to. No, not alone, he added suddenly. I'll take 2 dogs, yes. 2 dogs, that's what I'll do, that's what I should do. The night wind stirred the palms, rustling the leaves with a whisper like distant surf. For a while, neither of us spoke. The world seemed to shrink to the small pool of light around our table, 2 bottles of Gazelle beer glinting in the dim glow. I realized then that I had stumbled into something rare, not just a story but a confession, a man's entire life unfolding like a cigarette burning in the dark. His face, carved by years of travel, loss, and longing, seemed suddenly fragile, as if time itself might shatter it. And yet, behind that fragility, there was defiance. The same defiance I'd seen in his eyes the moment he stepped through that broken door. Maybe he was right. Maybe, after all the chaos, solitude was the only peace left to claim. We finished our beers in silence. The air was thick with the scent of dust and the faint music of the nearby street. Then, without a word, he rose, straightened his robe, monsieur, and walked away into the darkness. For a long moment I watched him go, that tall, aging figure fading beneath the swaying palms, until even his footsteps were gone. That was the last I ever saw of him. Later, as I sat alone beneath the dim garden lights, I realized something simple, something quietly unsettling. Sometimes the most extraordinary people are those who have already given up on being understood. And sometimes their stories are the only proof they ever existed.